Hello, and welcome to the Fertility Root Cause Workshop. This is one of my favorite things to teach because when it comes to fertility challenges, there are some areas that we can point to that will speak to either really abundant fertility or will speak to fertility challenges. These are things that you won't really encounter in conversations, you won't really encounter in a clinical space, not because they don't care about you. That's not my what I'm trying to assert here, but mostly because that's not what they're intended to do. When you go to a clinic, it's about AMH, FSH, IVF, IUI, egg retrieval, medical protocols. It's not really intended to focus on you and what's going on with you. It's about the egg, it's about the sperm, it's about getting pregnant. That being said, that is not the only way to improve your fertility, to improve your reproductive outcomes. Because understanding the root causes and hormonal imbalances that are involved in fertility challenges means that you can take your power back. And that's what I'm here to help you do. So I'm Bianca. I'm a fertility diet and lifestyle coach. I'm a professionally trained chef. I'm a holistic nutritionist, and I help women get and stay pregnant by overcoming fertility challenges through healing the underlying root causes. I cannot tell you how many people I work with, and they come to me very frustrated and sad and thinking it's not going to happen for them. Meanwhile, they have gut issues, they have eczema, they have hives all the time, they have many food intolerances. And my approach, and the approach that I think that you should take, is first resolve the issues that are plaguing you without being pregnant, without trying to conceive. So, if you have psoriasis, let's get to work on managing that. If you have something like IBS, let's get to work on managing that. And then, once we brought resolve to that place, then let's start trying. And this is the kind of work that empowers women to take their power back because you want to be able to go deeper than any fertility clinic. And there's so many people that come to me and they say, we've tried everything. And then we do a session, a deep dive, or we do a power session. And I realize we haven't really done anything. But because they are so entrenched in that clinical Western medicine space, they think doing it all is testing your AMH, testing your FSH, and deciding whether IVF or IUI is good for you. But there's more to it than that. And we're going to talk about it. So, first, let's talk about insulin resistance and why this matters to fertility. It is so shocking and glaring to me that we are not being told about the connection between metabolic health and the connection between fertility. If you have metabolic issues, something like insulin resistance, reactive hypoglycemia, prediabetes, PCOS, or even type 2 diabetes, you need to understand how to manage these conditions first before you go into starting to try. But on the other side of the coin, there are many people that are walking around this world with glucose issues, with insulin issues. It has not yet, triggered insulin resistance, but every time you eat, you have a spike and then a dip. You're tired after you eat. You wake up in the middle of the night to pee every single night. You're fatigued. Your periods are painful. All of this points to metabolic issues. When we release the pressure of metabolic factors on our body, that's when we clear a path for good cortisol regulation, good gut health, good liver health, good everything. And so, insulin resistance is a condition in which the body's cells become far less responsive to the effects of insulin, which helps to regulate your blood sugar. Insulin is the blood sugar regulating hormone. Now, when cells are insulin resistant, they don't efficiently absorb glucose from the bloodstream. And so this is going to elevate your blood sugar levels. Over time, if there is all of this glucose in your blood that is not being used by your muscles, by your liver, by your body for anything, this is going to cause issues with ovulation, hormonal balance, inflammation, all of which will get in the way of you getting and staying pregnant. And this is why blood sugar and insulin and metabolic factors are such an important thing to consider. And addressing the root causes rather than trying to get pregnant through issues like PCOS, which is often said to be hormonal, but it's metabolic for most people. Something like eczema, which is a number one sign that there's inflammation in the body. And so instead of trying to get pregnant through these things, you pave the path to baby and you pave a clearer path to baby by healing these things and then getting to work trying. Now, I will say this, I have worked with clients that have insulin resistance, are struggling to get pregnant, and we're doing the work of balancing their blood sugar. They're not necessarily trying, quote unquote, but they get pregnant. And the reason being is because if you have metabolic issues, if you have blood sugar inconsistencies, that is going to mess with your ovulation. That is going to mess with your implantation. It is going to mess with your luteal phase. And so again, understanding that we do the work of getting deeper into the root causes before trying means that you're going to have a better outcome. And this process is an enjoyable one. It's one that you look back on, you're like, wow, I felt so good getting pregnant, in my pregnancy, in my postpartum. It all starts preconception. So the role of blood sugar imbalances, such as those seen in something like insulin resistance, but not just insulin resistance, is that you are triggering excessive insulin release because your body's like, there's so much blood sugar. We have to put some insulin into our blood to be able to regulate and rinse some of this sugar out of our blood. But this will disrupt your hormone levels and promote inflammation if this happens consistently. Because again, what happens is if your body is consistently like, okay, here's more insulin to deal with that, eventually your cells are like, nah, I don't know what that means anymore. And that's bad. And the hormonal imbalance will lead to a cascade of fertility issues, irregular menstrual cycles, and ovulation. So you're not ovulating, or it's like you can't pin down your ovulation to save your life. Your cycle's 35 days, it's 21 days, and it's 47 days, and it's 28 days. And also things like PCOS are dramatically um, impacted by having blood sugar imbalances. And again, how you can know and how you know that PCOS is metabolic is that many women who have PCOS are put on something called metformin. Metformin is actually a blood sugar regulating drug. They also give it to type 2 diabetics. And so you can see the connection. Now, some women are put on the hormonal birth control pill, which I also don't agree with for PCOS. But again, if you understand that something like PCOS is metabolic and not hormonal, then how you go about treating it and resolving it and managing it naturally is going to be different. Because if you're told that PCOS is a hormonal issue and, oh, just go on the pill, it'll fix that hormonal issue, it doesn't, then you're kind of being led astray down a path that's actually not going to get to the root of the problem. But when you understand that your hormonal issues are actually metabolic issues in PCOS, that means that you are going to manage it differently. You're going to manage it like you are a diabetic or an insulin resistant person, and you are going to see your condition improve greatly. Balanced blood sugar is crucial for hormone regulation, for energy, so the mitochondria in your cells. And all of this is going to support your reproductive health. If your body doesn't have hormone regulation and if there's not enough energy in the body because it's being diverted to just managing everything that's happening as a result of bad blood sugar balance, that's going to affect your fertility. Insulin resistance, inflammation, all of these things are a real hit on your fertility baseline. If you are trying to get pregnant over 35, over 40, these are things that you have to pay very close attention to. Because also, if you have consistent blood sugar imbalances, you are having a lot of inflammation, perimenopause is going to come for you sooner because you are aging your body in this process. But when you live an anti-inflammatory life, you balance your blood sugar, you are eating for good gut health and all of these different things, you actually pause the clock. You give yourself more time. They won't tell you that in a fertility clinic. Now, understanding insulin and hormones is important because insulin resistance and hormonal imbalances are inextricably connected. When cells become less responsive to insulin, the body produces more insulin to compensate. And this is bad because this is going to disrupt your sex hormones. So the body is a holistic place. If you are having insulin issues, cortisol issues, which don't read as sex hormones because they're not, if they have problems, it trickles down to your sex hormones, progesterone, estrogen. And this will lead to issues with ovulation, menstrual cycles, overall fertility, like ovarian quality, endometrial quality. And many people don't put that tie in together. They're like, oh, I have high cortisol. Oh, I have blood sugar issues. Or they might not even be able to understand that that's what's going on. But if that is what's happening, it is also affecting your sex hormones. So again, if you are waking up in the middle of the night to pee every single night, I have news for you. It's not your bladder, it's probably your blood sugar. If you are hungry an hour after you eat food, anything, there's probably an issue with what was on your plate, how you ate on your plate, and what it's doing to your blood sugar. If you are always craving sugar, that is a sign that there's something going on with insulin and therefore cortisol and therefore estrogen and progesterone. But again, understanding root causes means that you can go back and sort of like work backward and say, okay, this is happening. How and why would this have started? Because these hormonal disruptions can and often will worsen fertility outcomes, leading to unexplained infertility and miscarriage. Now, something that I just want to say is that when it comes to unexplained infertility and miscarriage, there is also a very big male fertility factor that you have to consider. So many women are poked, they're prodded, they're told they're too old, their eggs are old, and they're kind of internalizing all of this as like, I'm bad, I'm unfit for this, when it could be your partner's sperm. Sperm is 50% of the genetic material, 50% of this person that you are trying to create. If there are sperm issues, that can lead to miscarriage, bad implantation, even giving you really terrible morning sickness. All of that can come from the sperm. So make sure if you are partnered with a man and you are doing this with a man that you have had his DNA fragmentation of his sperm checked. That is often not checked. And I will talk to people and they'll say, my husband's sperm is perfect. Have we checked DNA fragmentation? And if they say no, then we don't know if his sperm is perfect. So that is just a digression, an FYI, something to think about. So the impact of insulin resistance, so elevated blood sugar levels. So if you are continually eating and your blood sugar is having a response, beyond impacting like your energy, weight, increasing the risk of type 2 diabetes and gestational diabetes and pregnant, this is also going to create hormonal imbalances that will interfere with reproductive health. And here's the thing that I have worked extensively with people with insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, PCOS. And there's rice on this plate, as you will see in the photo. And many of them will say, well, I was told I can never have carbs. That is simply incorrect because you actually need more energy when you are trying to get and stay pregnant. It's very energetically demanding to get pregnant, to be pregnant, to heal and breastfeed in postpartum. All of this takes energy. That is why the supplement CoQ10 is so popular in the trying to conceive world because it helps with the mitochondria, aka energy in our cells. Now, if you are not eating carbohydrates, you are depriving yourself of something that is very rich in energy. So it's about knowing how to eat these things as opposed to just like, I'm never going to eat a carb again. That's so unrealistic. And so I say all of this to say that we need energy in our bodies. And the thing about carbohydrates that you will often notice is that they make you tired, but it's like if you eat them correctly, they are used incorrectly in the body. But if you eat them in the right order, you food sequence, then what happens is then that carbohydrate can be used as it's intended for energy. Nonetheless, the imbalances that are created hormonally from blood sugar issues will impair implantation, increase the risk of miscarriage, because we all are, every single cycling woman is a little bit insulin resistant in their luteal phase. So after ovulation until the first day of your period, also known as the 2-week wait. If you are having blood sugar inconsistencies, it's up and down, it's up and down during that 2-week wait, that luteal phase, that will impair implantation, which can lead to miscarriage. And again, all of this metabolic stuff, it's total body. So that means your overall fertility will be impacted if you have metabolic issues. So addressing blood sugar issues through things like understanding how to eat, understanding the impact of chewing your food really well, understanding gut health, understanding supplementation, understanding rest. All of these things are essential to restore your hormonal balance, but also to support healthy blood sugar levels, which will then improve your reproductive outcomes. The body is not a vacuous place, meaning you work on one thing, it often has a positive benefit to other areas. And it's the same with your fertility. So, healing the gut is key to getting and staying pregnant. I find myself like upset to the point of like wanting to throw things when I have clients come to me. I had a client come to me. She had H. pylori maybe a year and a half ago, has been trying to get pregnant, not working, not working, not working. And she says, "Oh, well, I have H. pylori, but they said that's not a big deal. I can just, we'll just do IVF." And it's like, I could have flipped the table I was sitting at because the role of a healthy gut in balancing blood sugar, in nutrient absorption, in beneficial gut bacteria, in reducing inflammation is so huge. But again, when we say those things, and I don't say the word fertility or ovulation or egg quality, people don't tie it back to it. But if you don't have good nutrient absorption, you have bad liver function, bad liver detox function. And what that means is you have bad hormonal balance. When you have bad hormonal balance, you have bad egg quality, you have bad ovarian health, you have bad all things. And so to try and get pregnant through gas, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, H. pylori, IBS, all of these things without first understanding, I'm saying it through clenched teeth, first understanding how to heal the gut and what it takes is going to get you to spend more money in clinical spaces. I'll say that. You can take that to infer whatever you want. But when we promote optimal blood sugar regulation and therefore a healthy gut, we support liver detox and we enhance fertility. And here's what I mean by that. When you have a blood sugar inconsistency, a blood sugar spike, and then dip, what happens is you get into a cortisol response. Your blood floods from your midsection to your arms and your legs, believing it has to fight for its life or run for it. Now, what that means now is that you ate something, it caused this reaction. Now there are less resources in your gut system to digest, absorb, assimilate, and distribute nutrients throughout the body. Bad, number one. This is bad for your gut. Now, this is also bad for your liver. Why? Because our liver requires enzymes and hydration extracted from the food that we eat, absorbed from the food that we eat, in order to carry out phase one liver detox. And if there isn't enough to fund that, then hormones aren't regulated, hormones aren't balanced, toxins aren't removed, inflammation goes up. So you see how it all starts with how you eat and blood sugar balance, and it all trickles down. And so when you get into these clinical spaces, if there is no mention of how do you eat, what do you eat, what's your diet, etc., and it's just do you smoke, do you drink, that's where you're being failed. Truly. Now, when it comes to gut health, fiber is going to play a really key role because it provides bulk, it helps with digestion, and you also get beneficial gut bacteria, harkening back to the carbohydrate conversation. Now, there is beneficial gut bacteria, so prebiotics, probiotics, um, in food that we eat. That being said, we have to make sure that we are giving our body the things it needs in order to extract the enzymes and the meat and the bulk and all of that in order to actually have good gut health. And so, what you find in starches and carbs that have resistant starch is that they also now have a prebiotic benefit. Eating things like berries that have the seeds, there's prebiotics in those berries. So, if you are taking, pardon me, a probiotic, you need to be nourishing these probiotics because that's the food that they eat. So I see people who eat probiotics, they also eat so much processed foods. They don't eat like real food, but they take a probiotic. And it's like, well, your probiotic is not going to be as effective because it doesn't have the food that it needs in order to actually rise to its most abundant self inside your body. And so, making sure that you are eating the right kind of fiber, the right kind of carbohydrates, you're eating fruits and vegetables and things that have the fibers that are going to feed these probiotics is very important. Again, that's what we miss about things like probiotics is people will take a probiotic, but they're not understanding that those things have to eat too. They eat what you eat. If you're not eating a good diet, you are wasting your money on probiotics. And you and I both know probiotics are not cheap. It's not a cheap investment. And so you want to make the most of it because a thriving gut microbiome will improve your fertility. It will. If anyone says something to the contrary, they are fleecing you, they are lying to you, and you need to figure out why. Because fostering good hormonal balance comes from the gut. Fostering effective detox comes from the gut. And all of what happens in the gut is dictated by what happens with your blood sugar. So you see, step one, blood sugar, step two, gut, and then step three is your liver. The liver is vital for fertility. It regulates blood sugar. It regulates hormones. It metabolizes any excess hormones. It gets rid of any toxins in the body. And when the liver is down bad, your hormonal health is affected, your body health is affected, your elimination is affected, your blood sugar is affected. I mean, it's everything. Next to the heart, the liver is our most important bodily organ. It just is. If that fails us, if our liver is like failed, we don't have much time left. And the time we do have is not going to be great. And so we need the liver to be optimized and functioning properly because it's going to ensure balanced hormones, which we need for ovulation and implantation. It's also going to process out any excess toxins or excess hormones. Now, here's what I want to say about the liver. You need to be so mindful of not just what's going in. So, healthy, whole, single ingredient foods, lots of really good hydration with water and like Celtic sea salt. You also want to be mindful of what's coming out. So you are not indulging in fragrance. You aren't burning candles. You aren't using Bath and Body Works. Febreze, I don't know her. Glade plugins, never met her before. Like all of those things also have to go. You have to implement some habits, but you also have to remove some habits from your life. Because if the liver is bogged down with all of these toxins from all of these places like plastic and fragrance and whatnot, and you also have bad blood sugar balance. So there's also a lot of blood kicking around your body that your liver is having to deal with. And you have hormonal imbalance, likely caused by the fact that your liver is dealing with all of these other things. Your hormones are going to be in a bad way. They just are. We need to make sure we take the pressure off the liver so it can do what it needs to do. The liver is our body's self-cleaning organ, but it's like a carburetor. A carburetor is meant to process and make garbage a little less gross. But if you don't clean that carburetor, it becomes very gross. And it's the same kind of framework when we're thinking about the liver. When the liver is processing effectively, it is eliminating through phase one and phase two effectively. This will prevent hormone recycling, toxin recycling, and it will make sure that you are optimized fertility wise. And if you are over 35, you are over 40, you have lived in your body longer than someone who's 25, who's 27, who's 30. And so, again, it doesn't mean that you cannot get pregnant. It doesn't mean that your body is just too old to get pregnant, but it means that there might be some cleanup from years of living in this body that we have to do. And we have to do that first. Trying to get pregnant through and just Kool-Aid man, break through the wall and try and get pregnant through these issues is not going to work as effectively as you think. And here's what I also want to say. Trying to browbeat your body into getting pregnant through a lot of these issues means that you are going to be energetically depleted for pregnancy. Then you are going to be energetically depleted after birth and labor for postpartum. You're healing, you're trying to make milk. I say this only anecdotally because I only have that in my repertoire at this point for this. However, I have seen many women come to me maybe secondary infertility and they're like, "Well, I got pregnant with IVF or IUI. We like did so many rounds and I finally got pregnant." And I'll say, "How was your pregnancy?" "It was hard. I was super tired. I had hyperemesis gravidarum." I say that wrong every time. The puking disease. I'll say, "How was your postpartum?" "Not great. I didn't heal very easily. My milk didn't really come in, like, etc." And again, we don't track it back to how did the body go into pregnancy? Because as soon as you get pregnant, every resource that you have is being pulled from in order to 3D print this human being. So instead of pulling from a vessel and a body that is not fully optimized and ready to take on the challenge, the marathon that is pregnancy, labor, and postpartum, um, I think we just do ourselves a disservice. And so that is why it's important to understand that there are things that we can do to improve. Egg quantity, we can't do anything about that. If you're over 35, you're over 40, they say you don't have a lot of eggs. We can't do anything about that. But what we can do is something about the quality because it just takes one egg. And working on blood sugar, gut, liver in a holistic and total format is what is going to help you get and stay pregnant. And so when it comes to supporting your liver, you want to make sure balanced diet, whole foods, antioxidants, vitamins, minerals. You want to be eating things like berries, turmeric, matcha, very high antioxidant content. You also want to be eating good sources of animal protein, so steak, lamb, chicken, fish, pork, if that's within your belief system. I know not everyone eats pork, but all of these are going to support liver function. I think it's so interesting that people will be like, oh, I'm doing this crazy liver detox. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And it's like, I want to see what you eat on your plate every single meal you have. Because doing a detox for 5 days and then going back to whatever habits you had does not a healthy liver make. Instead, with gut health, with liver health, with blood sugar balance, it's what you do at every single meal. And again, I am a purveyor of consistency, not perfection, meaning 80 to 85% of the time, I want you to do all of the things we talk about. The other 15 or 20% of the time, you're living your life. You're saving space for the fact that you are also living while trying to conceive. That being said, if that 80 to 85% of the time you're locked in, you will see improvements. Perfection will actually hold you back because it will make you think that if you make one mistake, fuck it, it's over. But it's not like that. Instead, you have to be consistent in your approach. Now, hydration is very important as well. So here's the thing about liver health. The food that we eat, the enzymes that are carried in those foods are what help bind any toxins or excess hormones or anything the body wants to get out in phase one liver detox. Now, in order to make them water soluble, these enzymes bind to these toxins and hormones and such, but they also need hydration to make them water soluble. And so you need to be hydrated as well. Adding a little sprinkle of Celtic sea salt to your water in the morning, making sure you are eating hydrating foods, vegetables, soups, broths, and things like that will also speak to your hydration level. But you need hydration for phase one liver detox. And here's the thing, liver detox happens in two phases. The first one is all about the food that you eat, the enzymes, the hydration. If there is not enough to fund that first phase, phase two can happen. And that is the actual physical removal through our waste, our number one and our number two. And so you have to make sure your diet has these enzymes and that you drink enough hydration and hydrating foods, etc., that is going to be able to actually bind and make these toxins water soluble so that they can move through phase two liver detox. You also want to just maybe amend your relationship with alcohol. Not everyone needs to do this. Not everyone is a big drinker. And so, I mean, kudos to you. I personally love a cocktail with friends, but you have to revise your relationship to alcohol. If you are drinking every single night, a couple of glasses of wine to wind down, we got to change that. It's gonna be hard on your liver. Um, some glasses on the weekend with friends, you're celebrating life, you're breaking bread. I live. I actually encourage that. However, if you are drinking every single night to relax, unwind, de-stress from life, we have to go to the next stage, manage our stress better. If alcohol is a salve for stress, that's where we need to amend the relationship. Things like meditation, breath work, yoga, walking, cooking, finding something that gives you pleasure and joy that has no expectations on it. It's something that you really need to do. And I say that as someone who Like I'm an entrepreneur. I for years, if I had a hobby that I was good at, I would be like, I need to monetize this. And I had a therapist say to me, not everything is meant to make you money. Some things are meant to bring you joy, bring you pleasure, bring you calm, bring you like a safe feeling, a warm feeling. She's like, that also has a price because sometimes we look at rest and managing our stress and yoga and meditation and sleeping in, we look at it as lazy because we live in a hyperproductive society, but it's actually doing something still. It still has an effect that can be measured. And so I want you to really think about your stress. And regular exercise. We want to promote circulation. We want to enhance toxin elimination, but we need to make sure that the exercise we are doing is not adding to our cortisol level. So things like HIIT, CrossFit, Insanity, Legree, Barry's Boot Camp. I mean, you got to think about all of that. Especially if you're going through IVF, IUI, you're already stressed. That's only adding more stress, and your body's not likely recovering from it effectively. Things like walking, swimming, yoga, wearing a weighted vest, weightlifting, all wonderful for hormones, but also wonderful for that liver detox that we're trying to get at. So we can just, push things out, get things going. So inflammation has a very significant role in fertility. It's, again, something that we talk about, but we don't talk about it enough. And when I say that, I mean because if you have high inflammation, your body is going to resist anything because your body is just trying to deal with the inflammation. Because chronic inflammation will impair ovulation, it will hinder your implantation, increase the risk of miscarriage, like all of the things. And inflammation can come from a lot of places. Your diet, stress. Now, stress can be biological, so you are stressing your body out, having a cortisol response because of how you eat food, because your gut is in disrepair, because your liver is not optimized. But then there's also the life stress, going at a frenetic pace, burning the candle at both ends, saying yes to everything, having bad boundaries, lifestyle habits, not sleeping well, drinking too much. Like all of this creates a cycle where inflammation worsens, where blood sugar balance worsens because if you're inflamed, your liver is going to feel it. And then what happens is it's not effectively able to get rid of blood sugar, toxins, hormones, etc. And so this is just going to create a cycle and then further fuel more inflammation. So we want to make sure that we combat irregular cycles so we can actually time conception. We actually want to make sure that we don't have hormonal disruptions because hormones in a woman's body fluctuate on their own naturally. They're up, they're down, they're all over the place. They're topsy-turvy, and that's natural, it's normal. But if we are adding to this disruption, that is going to cause issues. And so managing inflammation will help restore hormonal harmony. But here's the thing that I find very interesting, and again, that people don't tie it to is see people say, "Oh, I got to get rid of my inflammation. I'm inflamed." Okay, good. Where's it coming from? And they'll say, "Well, I'm inflamed." Okay, but where's it coming from? Inflammation does not happen on its own. It happens as a result of something. And so when people are saying you got to work on your inflammation, how you can suss out whether this person knows what the hell they're talking about or not is you say, "Well, where's it coming from?" If they blank stare you like, well, it's just inflammation, they don't know what they're talking about. Because inflammation comes from poorly balanced blood sugar, because when you have a cortisol response, inflammation is the result of that, especially if chronically. If you have bad nutrient absorption, bad gut health, that is going to cause inflammation, especially if you have a gut permeability, so leaky gut. So your gut lining is not strong, and so what happens is food particles actually leave and go where they're not supposed to go, causes inflammation. If your liver is not actually able to remove things and go through the process of phase one and phase two liver detox, inflammation is the result. And so managing inflammation usually comes as a result of managing other things. And so that is why it's important to understand the pillars of fertility and the root causes being blood sugar, gut, inflammation, liver. So just some anti-inflammatory practices I want you to adopt. Anti-inflammatory foods, berries, matcha, turmeric, but also not forgetting the anti-inflammatory foods that are, you know, meat, dairy if it's full fat and grass fed. Like we want to be eating fatty fish, leafy greens. Like we want to be eating a full spectrum of food, but single ingredient whole foods. Processed foods don't really have a place here. We want to make sure that we are making the most of every bite and extracting everything possible. And processed foods don't have a lot to extract from. A lot of it's already probably been extracted. But when it comes to eating whole foods, there's so much our body can draw from to lower our inflammation, balance our blood sugar, give our body energy, etc. And so being mindful, getting enough sleep, practicing rest when needed is so important. So here's the blueprint. You have to focus on foods and that are nutrient dense are going to help balance your blood sugar. You have to know how to eat those foods. And then you want to stack those habits that you learn metabolically on gut healing. So, fermented foods, fiber rich foods, hydrating foods, but also knowing how to eat foods for your gut health. And then you collect all of that now and you stack it on top of liver support. So, leafy greens, cruciferous vegetables, antioxidants, castor oil packs. And then you add on top stress management, mindfulness, lowering inflammation, and then you think about physical activity. But to try and physical activity your way out of fertility issues, not going to happen. It has to start at the top. The top of the pyramid is blood sugar. Then we move to gut. Then we move to liver. Then stress, inflammation, and cortisol. Because by the time you get to the stress, inflammation, and cortisol portion, it's a lot of it is already lifted and is gone because of the work that you did in those other pillars. So, what you are going to learn in the Fertility Blueprint program, and it's a fertility root cause program. So, this program is directly targeted at blood sugar, gut, liver, inflammation, stress, and cortisol. Because this is where you are going to improve your fertile function. It can feel like you're lost in the sea of information when people are like, oh, you have this fertility challenge, you have this fertility challenge, your egg quality, or this. And it's like, nobody's saying how you fix it. And that is what this program is going to give you, the blueprint to how to fix those issues. You are going to gain the tools, the knowledge, and also the support so that you can overcome a diagnosis like unexplained infertility, or you can overcome recurrent miscarriage while also feeling good in your body. Because here's the thing that I think is often missed. When you are in a clinical space, it's like egg, sperm, AMH, FSH, sperm motilities. And it's like, okay, yes, those matter in those spaces, but we are not looking at the man and the woman, the people behind those eggs and that sperm. We have to understand how to make your body, you, baby friendly, because where does the sperm live? In you. Where does the egg live? In you. It lives in you. Lion King. And so in the Fertility Blueprint Root Cause Program, there are 4 modules that each tackle one root cause. So it's every module has a workshop. It's about an hour to an hour and a half. The first one is blood sugar balance. The second one is gut health. The third is liver. And then the last one is inflammation and cortisol. In addition to these workshops, which again are going to teach you and go deeper than any fertility clinic ever has, you are going to get recipes that support each root cause module. So I'm a chef, so it's very important to me that you are also understanding that all of this happens in the abundance of delicious food, the abundance of feeling nourished and full and warm and satisfied. And so I wanted you to have recipes that also align with these root causes and healing these root causes, but also just align with you liking delicious food. Let's be honest. If it doesn't taste good, you're less inclined to do it. There's also resources and extra workshops that are meant to deepen your understanding. So there's the gentle gut cleanse. So you learn how to eat for gut health, also what to eat. There's the castor oil pack guide. There's the meal planning masterclass, because I want you to make sure that you have everything that's going to help you really lock in. Because if I'm giving you recipes and I'm saying you have to eat this and eat like this, and you don't even understand the basics of meal planning, that is not serving you. So I wanted to make sure that there's all the information in here that helps you actually execute what is in this program. As a chef, I have planned and prepared over 10,000 meals, and that is not even exaggerating. And so in the meal planning masterclass especially, I teach you about meal planning. Meal prep and meal planning get confused. Meal prep is a part of meal planning, but meal prep is not meal planning. What I mean by that is many people will be like, "Oh, I meal planned this week. I bought all the groceries, I made everything. I'm just going to eat it." And it's like, well, no, there are so many steps that happen before you even decide what you're going to make and eat as far as meal planning is concerned. And we cover all of that in the meal planning masterclass. You also have lifetime access, so you can work at your own pace. For some people, it's like gung ho. They're like, I'm going to do this course in a month. I'm going to finish a module a week, and they just implement and they do it. And for other people, life happens. There's other factors that play, and you want to be able to sort of work at your own pace without stressing yourself out. So you have lifetime access. There's also the bone broth recipe booklet, because you will get into this program and you will see bone broth is something that I love. You should call me Bone Broth Bianca, honestly. There's also the blood sugar cooking class, and also a discount on the School of Food, which is my subscription recipe website. So again, able to help you further deepen your understanding of how to use food as medicine, how to use food as your friend and not your foe. Because often, especially those with PCOS or insulin resistance trying to get pregnant, you've been told you can't eat this, you can't eat that, don't do this, don't do that. And it's like, no, I want you to see that you actually can. Let's focus on the things you can eat, the things that you can enjoy in abundance, and go from that place, working from a place of abundance and vitality as opposed to a place of lack and desire and need is so much different. And that is what this program is about. It's about giving your body all of the things in abundance so that it can do what you want it to do. And also, if you feel like you want some personalization of the content, maybe there's some nuance that you want to discuss, there's also a VIP option. So you can upgrade to VIP, personalize the program with a one-on-one call with me. So this is a 60-second call, 60 second, I wish. It's 60 minutes. And in that 60 minutes, we kind of go over your case. I get you to run me through what's going on, and then I help you create a blueprint of how to actually walk through this course, where to start, where to focus, and what is going to be most meaningful for you. For some people, a group program, or not a group program, but a program such as this, where you kind of just have access to the content, can feel a little overwhelming. And for those people, the VIP option is perfect. So I just want to say thank you for watching this. Thank you for giving me your time and your ear and your heart and your mind, because truly it is my life's work to help you get and stay pregnant. This is something that I feel like is the calling on my life. And everyone has a calling on their life, and this is mine, to help bring the miracle of life through you. And if you have been told it's not possible, if you have been told you're too old, if you have been told it's just not going to happen, and they can't really tell you why other than, you're 40 or you're 41, you are in the right place. But you have to remember that there is work to do before you do the work of trying to get pregnant. And so often, especially when you're older, there's this rush. You're 41, you gotta go, you gotta go. And it's just like very like, okay, whoa, 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 easy. And my approach is, let's work on you. Let's make your body baby friendly, and then let's try. And hopefully this workshop has shown you that unexplained infertility, recurrent miscarriage comes from somewhere, and you actually have the power to make it stop. And I would love to help you. If you are interested in the fertility blueprint, please comment. You can send me a message and we can go from there, because I would love to